Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Respecting the Beer. My name is Gary Arndt. With me, as usual, the man who is at the intersection of Karen Carpenter and Robin Yount, because he's both a carpenter and a brewer, Mr. Bobby Fleshman.
That's solid.
Younger than one and not as thin as the other, so. Too soon?
He did ride his motorcycle into the brewery one day, so.
True.
I don't know if you ever watched Community.
Oh, yeah.
There's this one scene where Troy has an ATV in the library and goes, "You can't have that there." He goes, "Yes, I can. It's all terrain."
If you like pop culture references, I'm your guy.
Dad jokes are going to rain today.
With us on the other side of the mic for the first time, Carrie Guerin, the publican here at McFleshman's, former guest, now taking over co-hosting duties. Very slowly climbing your way up the ladder.
Apparently so.
And so we talked to Bobby a lot about brewing, but the truth is he doesn't do it all himself. There are other people here who help out and sometimes create new beers, whether intended or not. And one of them is with us, the brewers here at McFleshman's today. Eric Rottier, a.k.a. Cooler. Welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me.
So do you want to start out with your most recent invention?
Oh.
Before we do that,
Yeah,
why don't you explain how you wound up here?
Well, it all started actually with a beer engine, oddly enough. I was working at Titletown Brewing up in Green Bay, and I'd noticed we had a beer engine sitting on a shelf in the basement, and knowing that Bobby had a couple of them here, I reached out to see if they wanted to purchase it because we weren't using it. And that started a conversation with the tapper manager, general manager, I'm not sure what her position was. Stephanie,
Yeah.
who happened to be a high school friend of my wife. So we got to talking and grew into a conversation and ended up meeting Bobby, talking to him for a while. And it just seemed like it would fit. So we started here as a little bit of everything. I was part-time in the brewery for a while. I was doing deliveries and sales a little bit, bartending one night a week. Just whatever I could to get in with what I thought was a really good brewery.
2021?
21, I think it was. Right in the early part of 21.
Stephanie, in this very room, she brought Cooler into this very room, and before she did, to meet me, before then, she said, "You're going to hire him, so I don't even know if you want to go through this," because she says everyone loves Cooler. She says everyone's gushing on Cooler. She's not wrong. Damn it. And that may be the reason that no one likes him, is because everybody likes it.
Oh, well, thank you.
So what did you notice working at other breweries that separates the approach here at McFleshman's?
The one brewery I have worked at was a larger production brewery, so everything was kind of geared towards keeping the timing down and all that kind of stuff. So we didn't really do anything different than just single infusion mashes, 60-minute boils, knock it out. And talking to Bobby, it was really nice to see them doing a little bit more of the traditional stuff. I mean, we do a beer with 3 different decoctions that takes all day, 2 shifts to do one beer. And a lot of the other ones we do,
beer, I think. Yeah.
A lot of the other ones we do will have different rests.
Debacle, Doppelbock.
Yeah. Pirates Cove's got a decoction and a couple different rests. We do the Hefeweizen in a real traditional way with a lot of rests, just brewer stuff, you know. It's fun to geek out with the process and all the different things, and it was just delicious beer.
Overall, just a masochist. Yeah.
Yes, I never thought there was actually a point I tried to talk Bobby into doing a decoction on a beer, which I never thought would happen. I thought for sure it would be the opposite, but
Are we talking about it with this Schwarzbier?
Yeah,
that was the alt beer.
The alt beer, yeah.
Yeah, and doing it in the open fermenter, trying to go real traditional with it.
Mm-hmm. I know a lot of people, this isn't a brewery thing, but just a company thing. Some people like working for smaller companies because you see the impact that you make. When you're in a bigger company, a lot of people could just not show up to work and nobody would notice. We're in a smaller company, you make a big difference. Everybody does. And you can really tell. And, you know, with brewing so many different styles of beers here, there's probably also more challenge.
More challenge, a lot more opportunities to make mistakes, but I feel like that gives an authenticity to the beer that some other places might miss. And the smaller companies, I've worked for family-owned businesses in the past that didn't go very well, so I was a little hesitant with that, but Bobby and Elle are great. it's just a.
But
real
you've
fun
never
place
made a
to be.
mistake brewing.
Oh,
Is
of
that
course
correct?
not. No, not a new beer on tap that we have right now either.
Kind of related to the subject of the episode at some level.
Well, why don't we get into that then?
Well, you want to get over? Let's get his name. Let's figure out why everyone calls him Cooler. We have to get that out the.
I have often wondered this.
Yeah.
Get
You're a
the
big
boring,
fan of The Great Escape.
Get the boring story out of the way. Yeah. No, it happened actually about 21 years ago now. Group of friends were having a party that I was not at, and something happened with a cooler and a vehicle, and somebody came back in the house asking who the cooler man was, and that's just kind of where it ended that day. About a week later, we were having a fire at my friend Clayton's house, and we were all taking turns calling that person and leaving them a message that said they were not the cooler man. And it got around to me, and I had no idea what was going on. So when it was my turn, I said, ignore all previous messages. I am the cooler man. And it stuck. And so it's been cooler man. It's been cooler, cool Harry for a while.
I thought you were
all over
playing
the
a
board.
guessing game where people said you were hot or cold, and you were just really bad at it.
So imagine the Igloo Cooler font, Cooler.
Oh, yeah.
Is it Igloo?
Coleman.
Coleman, yeah.
Coleman.
That font. And so he made a sticker with that font. It's Cooler Man, right?
Yeah. Well, I got a
Likeness.
friend,
Nice.
friend Michelle that does graphic design, and she made me a superhero sticker for my birthday, and then I asked her to do the Coleman logo as Cooler Man, and got some downstairs. It's pretty cool.
We
Hanging
should
around the brewery somewhere.
Put that on our merch store and do something with it. It's
Oh, yeah.
not all heroes wear capes, is what we've been saying.
We
lately.
have our
You know
own
what they call a
cooler
cooler in
man.
Australia? An esky.
Okay.
There you go.
Eskimo.
Because first time I heard it, I had no clue what the hell they were talking about. So there's a new beer on tap here at McFleshman's called Stowaway. And so why don't you explain?
You want to start with the beer that predated Stowaway?
You
wanna
know
start-
more about it than I do.
Let me start from the beginning. Stowaway is kind of the punchline, I think, to this. The style of beer that seems to resonate with brewers, that it continues to be Schwarzbier, which is a black lager. And I mean, Cooler can talk all about it, but basically kind of embodies little toast, little roast, little coffee, little chocolate, little
So
this, little
good.
that. But it's not overpowering in any of those ways. Anyway, I bring it up because our last brewer here was head brewer here was Shane Butner. Also, his arguably favorite style was Schwarzbier. And Cooler has been wanting to brew one of them for a while since he joined the team here. We finally had a window of time to open one or to get one in the schedule. And why don't you talk about the Schwarzbier? Schwarzbier in general and your Schwarzbier.
Yeah, started out just doing a pilot batch, and I think we ended up releasing that one right around the solar eclipse from
So it was
2
for
years
the,
ago.
It was for the eclipse. I remember
Yeah.
because I opened the tap room early that day to serve
It's just
the beer.
that day we were like, well, we got this beer. There's an eclipse. It's black. Let's throw it on. We'll call it Total Eclipse, and it was a pretty big hit. So I think we've done 2 batches so far in the big system. Yeah, it's a dark beer, but it's very light-bodied. I've heard it say it's a black beer with a golden soul. So we tried a few fun things on this one. We tried a different mash schedule that we've never done before. Also tried out something from the chocolate world, actually, called Dutch. They let the pH get a little bit higher, results in a little smoother bitterness and a darker chocolate. So the idea is you let the mash pH get a little bit higher and it rounds out that bitterness. So we tried that, and it worked pretty well. I think the beer turned out really good. You don't get a really strong coffee note. It's more of a dark chocolate kind of bitterness to it. And to bring it around to the Stowaway, we use the same yeast on it that we do in our Pirate's Cove. And we were brewing a batch of the Pirate's Cove and pitching yeast from the Schwarzbier just straight from one fermenter to the other. And it was moving real slow. I was watching it, and I turned my back for, felt like a minute, and put about a barrel of beer, the Schwarzbier, into the Pirate's Cove.
Reminding
So
you that this is a black beer going into a light beer. By definition, Helles is light.
Our darkest beer into our lightest beer. And so it gave it a little more roast character than we wanted, a little more color than we wanted. So we couldn't call it Pirate's Cove. So we brainstormed a few ideas of what to call it. And Bobby came up with Stowaway, which I think fit pretty well.
Well, and the funny thing about Stowaway, the night before, if anyone listens to this podcast, they know I fuck around with styles, all of our beers. And I was going to fuck around with Pirates Cove about 3 ways that day. And I ended up being restrained in many of those ways. One of them was I was going to add a little more Munich malt, which is a little darker, a little more flavorful, biscuity kind of a German malt you'll see in a lot of bocks, and it'll show up in a Helles, definitely in a Schwarzbier. And I decided not to because I'd already turned a few other knobs, some salts or whatever. And and if anyone's ever seen the movie Final Destination, how there was a plan and it was going to follow through one way or the other. It found a way to get that Munich malt in that beer at the end of the day. And it actually fell into this Stowaway at about the percentage of Munich I was kind of thinking about. Of course, it brought out some blacker malts along with it. But anyway, so it just kind of how that all happened anyway, even though I did show restraint for once in my life on not messing with the recipe. It turned out okay, though. Yeah, the label's got a little black cat in a crate on top of a pirate's ship deck, so it all connects with the Pirates Cove theme as Stowaway.
So is this something that's going to become a
Nope.
regular?
Nope.
Just a one-time thing?
Well, mainly because there's no way in the world we have any capacity to brew that on top of all the other beers we got going on. So this will be a one and done.
This is just salvaging.
Well, what I
what
call
you
it
got.
salvaging is it's an excellent beer, and I think it's let us explore those flavors we'd intended to explore anyway. We'll pull back on maybe some of those. I think there's even a little bit of roasted malt, if I recall,
We put a tiny bit of roast into it.
in the Swartz, and that gets diluted 20 times over. So it's just microscopic. So these things we wouldn't include. We wouldn't include any of those really dark malts in our Pirates Cove Helles. But it let us explore those things. So salvage is not quite the right word. It came out very delicious, and it came out sort of in the trajectory we were aiming for anyway at 5 a.m. that day. But we got there a different way by the end of it. So yeah, once in a while we do one-off beers for one reason or another. This is one of those days.
How big was the batch?
15 barrels, give or take. So I forget the math on that.
That's not tiny.
No,
Oh no! And with the addition of that,
4,000 pints.
with the addition of that barrel of Schwarzbier, it overflowed the tank when I was done knocking out that second batch.
Yeah, that's true. That extra barrel. That's so true.
So what's the division of labor between you guys?
How this goes.
What are you doing and you doing?
Yeah. Cooler he should get all the credit. I should get all the blame. Let's start with that. He's tasked with doing a lot of crazy shit. He doesn't complain. I tend to get the ingredients ordered, do a lot of the recipes, except in this case, he did 99% of this. And arguably, it's in our top 3 or 4 beers out of all time. This Schwarzbier is just amazing.
It's so good.
And it was needed in the lineup. So anyway, I'll get the ingredients all staged up and take care of that, ordering, staging, milling, whatever that entails. And then I'll get it in the brew house on the day we brew, and I'll do the first half. It takes 2 times to brew into our tanks. Cooler will bring it home and do all the hard work of cleaning the fucking system up at the end of the day. So, and then he leads packaging almost entirely. That's Cooler's job. He's leading our packaging side of things. He's doing 99% of our cellar work, which is all the thankless stuff in the middle that no one ever sees, where people, dry hop and filter and all the cool stuff that makes the beer at the end of the day. But yeah, what do you do? What's your day in the life for Cooler? Yeah.
It depends. I mean, if we're doing a double brew, Bobby will start it out in the morning. Let me know when to come in and hand it over. If we're doing smaller brews, he'll have the grain ready for me, and then I'll take it from there. Other than that, if we're filtering, do that, like you said, kegging a lot.
Do you guys work the same hours? Or do you
A little staggered. I'm usually a little earlier.
I'm convinced Bobby sleeps here sometimes, so no, we don't work the same hours.
Yeah, labor of love.
No, I get pretty much into a habit where I sometimes the first one here and sometimes the first one gone, but I'm pretty much here 8 o'clock, about 4:30 or so. I tend to wrap it up, and then Bobby's here all the time.
Actually, this is a good point. I didn't even know we were going to go there, but Cooler has taught me about balance. He's he's one of these, I always had this 20-year-old mentality approaching this place. Just go, 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 go. And even if it looks like I'm always going, I've turned it down a little bit, tried to seek that balance. We have Allison and I have our now 7-year-old, and Cooler's taught me a lot about work-life balance over these many years he's been here, which I endorse.
When you start a business, you kind of have no choice. I mean, I've done it several times. When you start it out, you have to throw everything into it.
Yeah.
And then once you've achieved kind of a level where it can sustain itself, then you can back off a little bit.
Yeah.
But when it starts, you kind of have to.
Yeah, it was brutal the first few years. It was really brutal. We were literally still building this place while we were running it as a business. There was a door at the end of the hallway that separated the tap room from production, and behind that door was nothing but tables of tools that we were using to actually build the place that would become what would make our beer. We were making it across the alley at the moment. So yeah, we were all in at that point. I was looking for a team like Cooler. Emmy now runs tap room. Before her, Ben, and Carrie's sitting across from me now. She was our first hire. We had to start surrounding ourselves with people to run this. And then our original partners, Shane and Layla, they were integral to us being where we are now, being able to step back when we do.
So, Cooler, I'm going to ask you a question we've asked a bunch of different people on the show. And Carrie, I'm going to ask you this too, because I don't think we asked you when you were on the show last time. What is your favorite beer that you make at McFleshman's?
Favorite beer to make or favorite beer to drink?
To drink.
Ooh, that changes all the time. The one that's in front of me is probably the closest answer I can give you.
What is in front of you?
Right now it's the Schwarzbier, but it could be the Hefeweizen, it could be 547. Doppelbock I've really enjoyed. Depends on the season, depends on my mood. The only one I usually won't drink is the Stone's Throw. That Irish Red's just not a style that I'm a big fan of, but that's probably the only one I can think of that I don't enjoy drinking.
And then, while we're at it, what's your favorite one to make?
Probably.
And why?
Probably the Public House Pint. It's a pretty basic brew day, but I really enjoy the dark beer brew days. The smell in the brew house on those days is amazing. And it's an easy beer to brew, so it kind of is a not really a day off. I can't shut my brain off completely on it, but I've brewed it enough, and it's simple and straightforward that it's kind of a relaxing brew day.
And Carrie, what's your favorite beer?
I kind of fall in line a little bit with Cooler, where I really appreciate every beer that we make. If I had to pick one, I tend to be more of a hophead, especially the West Coast styles. So like I'm drinking a little Toronado right now. I love that. I was super happy when we brewed that because I love the 547, but it is 8.9% ABV, and I have to be able to drive home. So I steer toward the Toronado, but that Public House Pint I love so much. The Hefeweizen on a warm summer day, or the Kolsch, you just can't beat that on a warm summer day sitting out in the beer garden. So it is very situational for me.
We're paused while we fantasize about Kolsch weather.
I know, right?
Where it's -10 right now when we got the window.
Yeah, I heard a heat wave's coming through. It's going to actually be positive.
Hit 0, yeah, all day.
I think in a few days we're going to hit double digits above 0.
Yeah, how Wisconsin do we sound right now?
Back to single stamp weather. Oh boy.
Yeah.
But I know that's kind of the interesting thing. You brew so many different beers, and you have such a comprehensive menu. Everybody kind of has their own thing that they like. And yeah, there are a couple things like 547 and whatnot that people gravitate to. But, I've been here many times where half the menu is something that I'd be more than happy to drink.
Well, when I look in on our sales every day, this is my confession. I always look at, and one day is never a good enough statistic to base any decisions on, but over a given period of time, if I see one beer lagging in our sales, I just cannot. It bothers me to no end. I want to make sure everything on that menu is as good as it can be in that category. We're not just trying to throw a dart and just put everything up on that wall. It always bothers me when any one of those, even if it's not one I don't personally like, when I see it not selling, I just can't stop obsessing about what it would take to make it sell better.
I think there are certain styles that people just they're not familiar with. Mm-hmm. Like, I don't think your cask beers are ever going to be your number one sellers.
They're kicking our ass in the tap room, I'll tell you. We're going through them really quick. But yeah, out in the wild, those styles, even if they're done on keg, the English ales are a little passé, I guess. But they're some of our best beers. I know what you mean, though.
Cooler, do you have any other notable screw-ups? Ones that maybe you weren't able to salvage?
I don't think we've had to dump anything. I set up the filter wrong one time after we cleaned it, and the beer wasn't actually going through the filter pads and just went straight into the
Going
tank.
through real quick, though.
Yeah. I was wondering why it was going so fast, and then I realized why. But
When the filter's set up, it's hard to explain, but basically you send the beer through the way we do it. You send it through these cellulose fiber pads, and you're able to pull out some of the larger particles, and then you go through another stage to pull out even smaller particles. And at the end of the day, you make a product that's very clear, but also very stable to shelf life, or that has a good shelf life. But if you don't, there's one plate. If you don't have it oriented correctly, you can just shoot right through both of those and not ever actually pass through either sheet on the way to the fermenter. Yeah, that happened.
yeah, but Bobby knows what he's doing. He's one of the smartest people I know. So if there's ever an instance where something doesn't go the way we plan it, we can usually spitball a way to make it into something else, and it works out.
What beer would you like to see McFleshman's brew that they haven't brewed yet?
Oh boy.
Swartz was one of them.
Yeah.
I mean, it had been a
Yeah.
while anyway. We'd done a Swartz before, but it had been a minute.
It's probably going to be a weird, obscure style that wouldn't sell. So there's a lot of historical styles, Adam beer, Kottbusser, smoked beer that I think would be fun to brew. But
If Jay's listening, he got really
He's all
excited
over that
about
one.
that.
All over that one.
Yeah.
I wouldn't say so much a beer as just different processes I'd like to try. We did a party guile a while ago that was really fun to figure out how to take one mash and get two beers out of it. And,
That was
and
our
how to
Fuller's
manipulate
episode.
our system
Yeah.
to get that to work. I'd probably say different techniques and things, not so much a certain beer.
I think, not to hijack that question, but I feel like Dortmunder has been knocking on my door for a while, which was the first beer I ever brewed as a home brewer. It's the one I messed up and didn't put all the sugar in, and I'm on video that I took of me fucking that up.
So you want to get revenge?
I want to get revenge on that style. It's also kind of like a bigger Helles. People ask what it is. It's like a bigger Helles, a little more mineral, a lot more mineral character. So it would be a fun one to revisit, and that accentuates sort of the hoppiness and the dryness of the style.
What was your experience in beer before you started working at breweries?
My dad was an avid craft beer drinker. I can remember being a kid and driving around pointing out the Red Hook signs I saw at bars because that was one of his favorite beers. So I was exposed to it right after I turned 21 pretty much, and then started homebrewing about 5 years before I got a job at a brewery. Tried a friend's homebrewed beer and decided that, hey, I can do that. So brewed a couple of those, started entering competitions with it, and just kind of fell in love with it and jumped at the chance to get in at a brewery anywhere.
That is pretty much the same story every brewer we've talked to has had.
Yeah.
Started out with home brewing, and then they decided to go pro.
Yeah, except for Aaron. I think I don't think
he's out.
Aaron has brewed at home at all. And
Nope.
he's
I don't
brewing
think
here.
so.
Aaron is very rare in that regard. Yeah, his first brew was on our 30-gallon pilot system here at the brewery, as far as I know.
He just enjoyed being around stainless steel.
He does. He does come from metallurgy or a metal
Oh, yeah.
fabrication and art background. So, yeah, there you go. He was our first stray, one of our first strays we adopted. He was one of our pub clubbers, had done 200, 300 visits a year. It was ridiculous.
He was our first to 100
And one, and then two.
and first to 200.
And unofficially three. And then he eventually got hired back here to work for us.
Well, he was just here so much. Apparently,
Yeah, might as well give him
you
a
got to
bed.
put him on the payroll at that point.
Yeah. Yeah, 100%.
So what made you hire someone who was a regular drinker here?
Yeah.
To
That
work-
wasn't even a brewer.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, Aaron's an incredible soul. We'll get him on here soon.
Mm-hmm.
He's incredible. I'm not sure there's a more present company excluded. There's a more likable person on this team here. If Aaron doesn't like you, you must be a real asshole. At the end of the day, he rolls his sleeves up and does anything, no matter what it is, and he always
with a
smiles.
smile on his
oh
face.
yeah, 100%. He's talented too. He's a talented woodworker, which
Metals.
speaks to my heart. And then metal.
I noticed the stairs are almost done.
Yeah, that's Alex Schultz. One day we'll get him on here if we ever find him. All we find is traces of him.
Half-empty glasses of beer laying around.
Aaron, though, he's learning to brew. He's very much, his mindset on the beer side is he loves flavors. He really likes to play with flavors. So I call him unofficially our pilot manager or innovation manager, whatever you want to call it. He's back there he's got so many jars of concoctions on the shelf. It's straight up out of, Young Frankenstein, where they have all the Abby Normal brain. Anyway, he's got jars of stuff all across the shelf that he puts into these beers.
That'd be a good beer name.
There's Abby Normal. I've thought about it. If we get into the Belgian doubles, I thought an Abby Normal would be a
I
good
hear Jay
beer name.
again.
What's that?
I hear Jay's
Oh
ears
my
ringing
God.
again.
So, yeah, that's what Aaron does. He just, anything we need done, he does it. And he's so talented when it comes to blending flavors. We're all committed to making the flagships, and that's going to be more true this year and more true the next year. And I don't want to ever lose sight of our innovations that we do. And never mind the non-beer stuff that we do. And Aaron's just leading the charge on that.
Yeah, we need to get him a lab coat so he can look like the mad scientist that he is.
Yeah.
All right, well, that'll wrap up this episode of Respecting the Beer. The producer of Respecting the Beer is David Kelso, and without David, there would not be a show. Please join the Facebook group to get updates and to support the show over on Patreon, where you can listen to the bits that don't make it into the regular show. And you'll also get access to special events here at McFleshman's and special beers available only to Patreon and Pub Club members. Links to both of these are in the show notes. And until next time, please remember to respect the beer.